I was getting ready to talk about some other occult numerology in Crowley's Thelemic system and explaining that he was often called the Great Beast 666 to Megatherion, which means the Great Beast. This appellation given to him by his mother, because he went against his Christian upbringing. But I don't think Crowley was a dark magician or a dark occultist, as some people seem to think, because he embraced that term. He understood what the term really meant and why it was called beast consciousness, why it was called, being the beast, 666. This number and its associated number, 777, need to be really understood in conjunction with each other if we are to understand one of the most important numbers in Thelema, which is 93. So the number 666, of course, this comes from, biblical writings. The book of Revelation talks about it being the number of man, not the number of a man. That's a mistranslation, actually. It comes from the number being talked about as the number of man, which means that all of mankind is actually trapped in this state of consciousness. Man in base consciousness, in which his thoughts, emotions, and actions are not unified and complete. So each digit could be seen as an aspect of consciousness. The first could be seen as thought. The second or middle digit, the middle six, could be seen as emotion, and the third could be seen as action. And the reason that they're all sixes is because 6 is considered a number of incompletion, of not being there yet, being, I guess you could say, half-baked. It's incomplete. It needs more work. It is not accomplished. The goal is to transcend that condition of base consciousness. That's what we're talking about here. That's what, Thelema and the philosophy of the Thelemic tradition is all about. It's about using care in conjunction with the will to acquire spiritual knowledge of truth, and move forward and ascend in consciousness so that we can free ourselves. So the number of the beast, 666, represents man in base consciousness or beast consciousness, okay? Not being fully realized as a true human being, a spiritual being having a human experience. To get to the complete or unified expression of humanity, we need to become the 777. And this is the number of man in a complete or unified state. Thought, emotion, and action, they're all unified, and they're all raised to their fullest expression. It's not man as God. It's man in a state of consciousness that resembles the divine or has the divine spark ignited within it. That's what 777 means, okay? So it's man in unity consciousness, not in dualism anymore, in internal opposition. The internal opposition has been rectified, and man is unified in his thoughts, emotions, and actions. That's the 777 state of consciousness. If we do Gematria, the Gematria reduction, meaning we're going to add the digits in 666, and then we're going to, if we get a two-digit number, we're going to add them again together until we get a single-digit number. So let's do this. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. So the reduction in occult numerology, in Gematria, of 666 is 9. That's what they would call the reduction. You're adding it, getting your value, and then adding the digits of that value until you get down to a single digit. That's why they call it a reduction. You're starting at 3 digits, then going to 2, then going to 1. So 9 and 666 are equivalents. So 9 would be considered base consciousness, or the equivalent of 666. If we do the reduction of 777, we get 21. 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 21. 2 plus 1 equals 3. So that's the reduction of 777. They mean the same thing. They are equivalent in Gematria. So to go from the 666 to the 777, or to go from base consciousness to higher consciousness, is the same as going from the 9 to the 3. So Crowley used the number 93 in the Thelemic tradition to represent this idea. 93 was doing the true will. 93 was coming out of beast consciousness and going to higher consciousness, to unity consciousness, to awakened divine consciousness. So the number 93 is kind of seen as the number for Thelema. Okay, and again, it's also the number of the word Thelema. When we add the digits of Thelema together, we get 93. When we add the digits of the word love in the Greek language together, we get the number 93. All of these things are equivalent to each other. So that's one of the first things to keep in mind. It represents the ascension out of ego, consciousness, and duality into love, will, and unity consciousness. It reduces the 3, so it's the equivalent to 777. The number 93 itself, 9 plus 3 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. It's equivalent to 777, 93. And this is because there's a property of 9 that equates it with base consciousness as a number itself, okay? And just let me run briefly through this. The additive property of 9, okay, when we add 9 to anything, 9 plus 1 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. So we go back to where we started. We added 9 to 1. We start with 1, we add 9, we get 10. Doing the reduction of 1 and 0 simply gives us 1. We're back to where we started. 2 plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 1 gives us 2 in the reduction. Okay? We're back to where we started at 2. 3 plus 9 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. We're back to where we started. You take any number and add 9 to it, nothing changes. It's like adding a 0 because it represents base consciousness. When you add base consciousness to anything, you can't accomplish any change. No change is possible when you're adding more ego and base consciousness to the situation. So that's why 9 is considered the number of the beast. And even in Satanism, they'll tell you the number of Satan is 9. It's considered 9 because it's the number of the ego. And for this reason, mostly, the multiplicative properties of the number 9 are even more telling. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 2 plus 7 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. 4 plus 5 is 9. It doesn't matter what number you multiply by 9, you automatically come back to 9, which is why it's considered the number of the ego. Whenever you multiply ego by anything, you multiply it into anything, all you get is more ego. That's what that concept represents in occult numerology. So this is why the number 93 was so powerful. You're getting rid of the illusion. You're transcending the illusion of base consciousness and attachment to ego, and you're raising your vibratory energy up to the level of the man in unity consciousness. You know, this is the number 3, the Trinity, thought, emotion, and action, unified and non-dual, not in a state of internal contradiction. So this is why 93 was considered a very powerful occult number in Thelemic tradition and in their system of Gematria.